There we go. Cool. Hey everyone. Welcome to the JSR Office Hours here on February 6th. Thank you for coming. We're going to be talking today a little bit about our new governance board, which you may have seen the blog post that we published on, I want to say Monday. JSR has a governance board and is now more or less openly governed and not just under the control of the Dino company. So yeah, I'll introduce a little bit about what this is all about, and then happy to take questions and talk through anything related to this or anything else JSR related. So let me explain what the governance board is. So the governance board is a group of people that is going to be sort of figuring out where JSR goes in the future. That means, does JSR go into a open foundation like the OpenJSF Foundation, or does it go into 501(c) nonprofit? And sort of where will JSR live in the limit? We will figure out how JSR should operate going forward. So like what things the project should do, like should we support more npm related features, or should we support more features relating to doc generation or something else entirely. And we will set up the moderation group, which is going to figure out how JSR is moderated, deal with moderation problems like scope squatting or people publishing things to JSR that should be there. Yeah, I will show you all real quick who the board members are. Let me share my screen. Yeah, so the board members there's 5 of them. Evan Yu, the creator of Vue.js and Vite, founder of Void Zero, who you may have heard of. Void Zero are the folks that are working, for example, on Vite, Vtest, roll down, OXC, various JavaScript tools. Isaac Schluter, who is the original creator of NPM and is currently working on a startup called BLT, Volt, who are working on a new package manager for JavaScript. James Snell, who is a member of the Node.js Technical Steering Committee, which is the group that sort of oversees the Node project. It's essentially the governance board of Node, who works at Cloudflare as a principal systems engineer. Me, hello, I'm software engineer Dino, and I also represent Dino HTC 39, and I do some other standards work. And Ryan Dahl, who is the creator of Node.js and Dino, who currently leads the Dino company. So those are the 5 board members. This is the exact governance charter. Actually, I don't know if this is this the, yeah, this is the full charter. So we can walk through this real quick. The mission and purpose of JSR is to improve the JavaScript technical ecosystem by providing a community service for sharing code that is not controlled through like a single company. And JSR does this by providing like hosting, moderation, and facilitating easy access to packages. So making it easy to publish in a secure way and letting others access those packages. Board is comprised of 5 members. I just showed you those. I'm not going to read through that. The board is responsible for setting the policy and strategy for JSR, overseeing the operational matters. So where are we going to go in the future? In the sense of like, what's the legal home of JSR going to be? Is it going to be foundation or a nonprofit or something else entirely? And ensuring that the sort of project continues to align with its stated mission, so that we don't start doing weird things that do not align with the mission of being a community JavaScript package registry. Decisions in the board are made by majority vote. There's no term limits on boards. There's no formal roles in the board. And yeah, we're going to figure out now what the legal home for JSR is, as I mentioned before. The meetings for the board are not public, but the meeting minutes, so the outcomes of those meetings are going to be public, and they're going to be, I think, on the JSR homepage or in issues.
Yeah,
on the
we
JSR
currently
homepage.
do issues on the GitHub tracker.
Do we have the minutes from last time there?
Yes.
Let's see. That's this one here. Yeah, you can actually read through the notes. Let me link this in Discord.
There is a link of to all the meeting notes in the docs as well, if you forget the link.
Cool. Yeah, one other thing that the board is going to be working on is funding. So figuring out where JSR gets the revenue or the money that it needs to operate, whether it even needs money to operate or not, or whether we can get sort of donations from large companies in terms of like in the forms of compute resources and CDN bandwidth and things like that, or whether we should apply for some government grants or sponsorships to fund JSR. But this is not really a problem right now. The Dino company is going to pay for JSR until we figure something else out. Yeah, and then various other sort of legalese things regarding conflict of interests, obviously, and onboarding, offboarding new members. So that's the rundown on the board. Let me go back to Discord and stop sharing my screen. You all have any questions? You want to come on stage and ask?
Or just
Or
chat as well.
Perfect. Let me figure out how to. How do I get
Yeah,
you up?
hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey.
Okay, perfect. Now that the JSR is openly governed, what are the plans for the moderation board in terms of timeline and structure? And also, if someone wishes to join, what will be the process and the requirements be?
Great question. So let me answer the second question first. What are the requirements to join the board? So the board, there's currently no openings in the board. The board charter has 5 members, but in the future, when a position opens up, the way that new members to the board are appointed is through sort of somebody from within the board suggests somebody to join. And for your other question, your other question was about setting direction, or could you repeat that again?
Yeah, about the timeline and the structure of how the moderation board will be.
The moderation board. Okay, cool. Yeah. So the timeline for that, I'm not entirely sure. We're currently going full steam ahead on trying to figure out where JSR will be homed, like in a foundation or otherwise. But I think we will discuss the moderation board at one of the maybe the next board meeting. The way to join that would be through the application form. That is, I think, on the website, and we will then start contacting folks off that. I don't have an exact timeline, but I'm hoping that like before March or so, the moderation board is going to be set up.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. That's all my questions.
I posted a link for the application form if anyone wants to apply for the moderation board in the chat.
Cool. Another question from the chat. Minor clarifying question for the charter. Is the majority vote rule a majority of the total board membership, so 3 out of 5, or a majority of a quorum, as in as low as 2 out of 3? Let's see here. So the answer to that is I'm not entirely sure. I would have to check. But I would assume that it is a majority vote of the total board membership, and not a majority vote of the quorum.
Yeah,
If that is something that we have to clarify in the charter, then
yeah, the wording in the chart
we
is
will do
not
that.
very clear on that. So
Okay, I will propose for the next board meeting we update the charter to clarify that. And then a second question also from Andrew, or rather point of order. I've heard a distinction made between foundations, 501c3, 501c3s, and nonprofits. Open source foundations are generally nonprofits and are usually either 501c6s, like the Linux Foundation, or 501c3s. Yeah, that's right. So the question is like, would we want to set up our own JSR 501c3, for example, or 501c6? There are obviously procedural annoyances with setting up our own foundation, primarily around like waiting times in the US. Setting up a 501c3 takes quite a while right now, like up to a year and a half. There's obviously tax implications and all that kind of thing as well. But it would give us the most flexibility. But we are also considering just trying to get JSR Home to under an existing foundation that has already figured this out. This obviously comes with the downside that there's less control because the foundation exists that sort of has its own priorities. But we think that this is a reasonable path forward too. Yeah.
And I also can just quickly read out an extract from the board meeting notes that was posted earlier, which state the board considered different governance models, including forming a non-profit, joining OpenJS, or structuring a public benefit corporation. Concerns were raised about bureaucracy and unclear benefits of joining an existing foundation. And Cloudflare supports for open governance for open source projects was identified as potential advantage if JSR aligns with established foundation. So yeah, basically it still needs really to be discussed and found out what the best approach is currently.
Yeah. And I mean, that is exactly the task of the board, right? The board is going, their primary task is figuring out right now where is JSR going to be homed. And I think Augustine, that also is going to answer your question. Hey, why does JSR not just join the OpenJS Foundation because it's JS related? And the question is, maybe it will. I'm not sure, but we need to figure out what the best place is.
Yeah, like every different model has its upsides and downsides. So let's figure out exactly first, because changing afterwards is gonna be very, very difficult. So rather get it right on the first time.
I think Andrew's typing another comment or question. In the meantime, does anyone else have any questions? Feel free to come join us on stage if you want to ask, or type in chat. Cool. Yeah, Andrew has just posted another comment. Yeah, sympathizing with this. Yeah, foundation challenge is indeed difficult. And thanks for linking to that. I'll definitely read through that discussion.
Also, if people have questions that are not related to governance, that's also fine. Like, it doesn't have to be about governance.
Yeah.
If you have a PR you're working on and want some advice or anything like that, feel free to ask.
Otherwise, I have some other topic we can talk about, which is
I mean, multiple people are writing in chat, so I guess.
Okay, let's wait.
Is there a plan to store something like minutes meetings on Git like JSR/governance instead of issues actually having files? Could also work. I don't think there is any specific preference right now. Just issue was the easiest approach for now.
Yep. Matt asks, what is the top challenge for JSR right now? I think the top challenge is adoption of like any other project. We're competing against NPM, right? Which means that you need to figure out how to make it really easy for NPM users to adopt JSR. I think we're slowly getting there, but there's still a lot more work to do. One of the things that we're working on right now, for example, is making it easier to publish packages that exist that are not written in TypeScript, but are written in JavaScript plus d.ts files. JSR can handle those right now, but it's a bit cumbersome. You need to add some comments to your file to make that work. Yeah. I think there is also some other questions around sort of the edge cases of NPM and compatibility there, like optional peer dependencies and things like that. Yeah.
Then will JSR allow module augmentation? Yes, there's an open issue at some point, basically.
Yeah. Leo, actually, if you could you find and link that issue? So
Yes.
the problem with module augmentation is that it de-optimizes TypeScript in some unfortunate ways. Because when you load one package, it can like modify the types in a different package. And unless that is like exposed clearly from the outside of the package, this can really, really mess up your type checking performance, which is why we don't allow it by default. But we're probably going to allow some opt-in behavior in the future where you have to sort of opt into being able to declare a module, and you may have to put that into a special file or something. And that way we can sort of avoid the TypeScript slowdowns in some cases to let you do it.
So with having Isaac, who's building, also having their own serverless registry, are you folks focusing on publishing the adoption of JSR together, or pushing the adoption? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Isaac is part of the board because he believes in pushing JavaScript forward, and JSR is one way that we're doing that. And I'm sure that VLT is going to do some very interesting things also. But yeah, packages are package registries unfortunately don't work if you have too many of them, because they need to be able to
Understand each
either
other.
work together very well or understand each other exactly.
Well, in the case of Vault specifically, like anything that I've announced so far is not exactly conflicting with JSR, but something that works separately. So no, there's not really a concern that there's like conflicts of interests here too much.
The question about the module augmentation, can you clarify whether you mean like another module in the same file, like another file in the same package, or a different package?
Also, while we wait, different package.
Different package. Okay, yeah, that's the thing that I was talking about earlier. That may be allowed at some point, but it requires that you put that declaration in a specific file in the package, so that we can sort of give that to TypeScript early on and have it not slow down too much.
Then a problem, in my opinion, on a way to say that a package is made for such version of such runtime. So basically being able to define runtime compatibility and version compatibility in a more strict sense than just having a UI element.
Yeah, I'm sure that this is something we're going to do soon. For those who were at FOSDEM, I was talking a little bit with some people on the hallway about this, trying to figure out a way that we can have both configuration for runtime compatibility in the JSON file, and then also letting you configure it through the UI and not having that conflict. And our conclusion there was that we would let you have, we could let you have some simple UI to change things sort of from the UI, and then if you put something into a JSON file, that takes priority over whatever you configured in the UI, and at that point you won't be able to configure things in the UI anymore. And I think that also opens the door to some more structured data. So being able to say like a specific version of a runtime, or for example, for the browsers, being able to say like this supports Chrome and Firefox, but it does not support Safari because of this and this and this reason. Actually, I don't know if we have an open issue for this, but yeah.
I think I saw something at some point, but maybe not. Then Matt asks, are efforts being pushed on the Node/npm code bases to better interop with JSR?
Yeah, I think the best thing that we can do for adoption is to minimize the amount of changes that are necessary for sort of Node or npm code bases. So ideally, not too many. One thing, for example, that we would like to support soon as well is using package.json workspaces in publishing. Right now, if you want to use workspaces, you have to like reset them up for JSR. And if we just support package.json workspaces out of the box, that would be significantly simpler. And then also the thing I was talking about earlier for publishing JS or publishing packages that contain JS files in d.ts rather than TypeScript source. Yeah, that one is sort of also on that same track.
Then Augustine asks, is there a way of writing a TS package and choosing the version of ESM that you want so that you can choose which versions are supported by the runtimes? Not sure exactly what versions of ESM are being meant here.
You mean like down transpiling modern JavaScript features? While we wait on an answer for that, Matt clarifies that they meant the npm package itself, not individual projects.
So npm
using
itself supporting
NPM.
JSR.
Yeah. So actually, this is also something we talked at the last board meeting about, and we're very interested in figuring out how to get package managers or how package managers can support JSR out of the box. So being able to specify JSR dependencies directly in your package JSON without having to have an npm-rc configured. And I think this is something that we will talk to some more package manager maintainers this coming year about. We think it's actually pretty simple for them to do, and we just have to write out how exactly it can be done, and then discuss whether there's like community interest for this. But I'm pretty confident there is.
Then
Egamax asks,
yeah.
How long does it typically take for a scope quota increment request to be processed?
Usually a day, sometimes maybe a bit longer. I have to look at the emails myself. So when I get a chance, yes. Probably get the chance tomorrow again to go through some of the emails if I have time. But yeah, usually it should be the same day or the next day. Worst case scenario, it's a week.
Yeah, and I think this is something that will improve once the moderation team is spun up.
Yeah.
Because there will just be more people around to answer questions like this. We have another couple minutes. I see some more people typing. See if anybody else has questions. While we're waiting for some more questions, there was also some work this weekend at FOSDEM to publish some large NPM packages like Babel to JSR. So I'm hoping that maybe at the next open office hours we can do a walkthrough of how to publish a very large package like that to JSR, like we did with Sentry 2 weeks ago. Augustine says, JSR adoption can also be complicated for packages that use .node. So for those who don't know, .node are like native add-ons that like obviously don't work in the browser, but they do work in runtimes like Deno and Node. I think that's right. I think for that to work, there needs to be a lot more work to make that work, because that sort of needs to be done with imports. And I think like .node, for example, you cannot, if I remember correctly, you cannot currently load from ESM in Node. You have to load that from a require call. So yeah, I think there's definitely some more work in general in the ecosystem there to figure out how that works in ESM. Okay, anyone have some final questions before we wrap up for today?
Someone is typing in chat, so. Oh, not anymore.
Okay.
Let's wait a moment.
Give folks another minute.
Also, we don't bite on stage. Like, if you want to speak, it's probably faster and easier.
Is there a plan for a contribution guideline? That is a great question. I don't think, yeah, we don't have one right now.
Nope.
With the documentation for how to run the project locally is in the README. But yeah, we should definitely have a contribution guide to outline things exactly like which commit convention to use. We use conventional commits. And yeah, merging once somebody has approved it, and asking things like when you can become a collaborator to review PRs. I think that's something that the board is going to figure out a policy for.
Yeah, that's probably not
But
going to
we
be
should-
anything soon. Like for now, reviews are probably going to go mainly through me and Luca.
Yeah, and I mean whoever the board decides, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I think absolutely we should set up a contributing .markdown file for things like how to open PRs and like what kind of issues should you report and things like that.
And how much time should we wait before merging PRs? Well, usually if the PR looks good, then we just merge it. There's not really like that we had a delay or somewhat like that.
Yeah. I was saying maybe actually you want to you could open an issue for the contributor guideline, and then we can sort of think about all the things that are necessary in that issue, and then write one up.
JSR is focused on security and readability. Have you considered using OpenSFF as scorecard?
No, we have not considered that, but we could. Maybe also open an issue for that. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining today. We're 2 minutes over, but that's fine. If you have any other questions, feel free to obviously put them in chat, and Leo and me are going to be answering those. And I hope to see many of you again in 2 weeks for our next open office hours.
All right, then. See ya.
Bye, folks.